good evening, and welcome to this Tuesday, April 13th edition of A Walk Down Memory Lane. I'm your host, Errol Basin, and joining me as co-host, Dennis Brown, and we are joined by Clarence Simons, and we'll soon be joined, hopefully, by Mr. Edward Icewater Smith. Dennis, I know you've known this gentleman for quite some time, so I'll let you to get this party started.
Okay, good night, Errol. Good night, Si.
Yes, Dennis.
It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Si was a guy I've known all my life. Well, all my 58 years. His family and my family were, pretty tight. My mother and his mother.
Yes.
And so at the end of the day, I saw something that you had in the newspapers. Before I ask you some personal questions, I want to ask you some questions on the other guest as well, Mr. Edward Icewater Smith. What led you to write that article, and what can you tell us about Mr. Smith?
Okay. Some time ago, Clyde Bass and I, we had gotten together in a big discussion. And we were saying that it's amazing how people always pay tribute to those that have done so much for the community. But unfortunately, when they pay the tribute, the person has deceased. So we were saying that, what we should do, just highlight individuals that have made an impact in our lives. So I thought about it, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to do a tribute on Icewater Smith. Looking back in our Island Ranger days, he was a big icon over in Dockyard, and I see the newspaper put him on as being the godfather of Dockyard, and that is very, that's correct. And so he has done a lot for us guys over there at Dockyard, because at that time, people had this saying that no good thing came out of Dockyard, right? But we proved them wrong. He was not only a figurehead, but he was a fatherhead to a lot of us that were over there. Some of us, as mentioned in the article, came from dysfunctional families. Some guys didn't even know who the father was and what have you. And I used the sort of example of the movie The Big Green, where this English lady came over to the United States as a temporary teacher in this high school. And she actually took a group of students that didn't really want to learn anything, and she taught them about football. So just imagine teaching an American at that time about football. They called soccer. And I said, you know what? And I saw that movie. I said, that's exactly what Icewater did to you guys, even though we knew about soccer. But we were a group of guys that really were just there, with no real ambition, just hanging around, playing around and everything. And then he came and he started the Island Rangers. He and a group of men started the Island Rangers football club. And Icewater was a very respected man. And as you know, he made his views known verbally, and he backed up what he said, And so all the guys, in fact, respected him so much that even the hardcore guys, they would back down when there was a confrontation. They would back down because they knew that he didn't pull any punches, And so as we got this team together, we saw the dedication that he had in the guys, and he saw what we didn't see as young men. And we had our meetings in his living room. His dear wife was there to support him, gave us some lemonade and water and what have you. And we became a close-knit community. And whenever we played, the neighbors came out. So the wives and the sisters and the siblings, everybody came out, and you thought it was a cup final over there as Mosby playing, and which I call Bermuda's Wembley.
Yes.
It was a big field, and it was so big that you can get two games going on at the same time.
Yes.
And a lot of players at that time didn't want to play over there because the field was so big, which meant that there was a lot of space, and so they were used to being close, playing in a close environment. So we respected Icewater Smith, and he actually believed in discipline. If you didn't come training, you didn't play. I remember one time, even Clyde, he made Clyde cry because Clyde didn't come training or wouldn't do what I asked him to do, and I said, "No, bro, you're not playing." And I remember Clyde telling him, "One of these days you're gonna pay to see me play football,"
Oh, well,
and he meant it, right? And so we know what happened after that. But yeah, so he was a very respected man. Even today, I can remember once working at Kid and Wallace on lunch hour. Some of you guys used to go running, and we were coming down North Shore and going up Strawberry Hill, and here comes Icewater in his car with his wife, and he says to me, "Come on, son, I'm on, sprint up the hill." And I actually sprinted up the hill, and this guys couldn't believe it. They said, I said, "Yeah, that's the way we were." When he said something, we went ahead and did it. So we had a lot of respect for Icewater Smith, a lot of respect, and he always defended us. And,
so in
yeah,
that article,
yes,
I also read some of the players that started at Island Rangers.
that's right.
I had to raise my eyebrows a bit because I thought, they were just Somerset Trojans. So can you tell the people, some of the people who came through that Island Rangers program?
Oh yes, sure. And before I name the names, a lot of those guys really couldn't make it in the team. At that time, it was some of the Colts were the team, because during that time it was the West End Rovers, right? Then they changed to some Cricket Club. But a lot of younger guys couldn't make it in the Somerset Colts team. So they came over Dockyard. Guys like uh, George Brandon came over, Charles Skeet Fubler, uh, Ken Deal, Carlton Bass, of course Clyde Bass, and Roger Evans, Robert True, Stuart Wilkinson, Billy B. Bradshaw. We had a host of guys that came over. Even Island Construction, Alan De Silva. Alan De Silva
So,
actually
okay.
played for us as well. So we had a slew of players. Bernard Brangman, those guys came over.
Whoa.
But again, I just want to let them know, we're over here to play football, and you have to listen to what I tell you. If you don't listen, well, we don't need you. That's how it was.
Okay,
Yeah.
so um, due to the fact, and one of the things I used to hear about Mr. Smith was that he was, like you said, a disciplinarian.
Yes.
What was his main emphasis? Because I'm gonna ask him the same question.
Yes.
What was his main emphasis in training? Was it discipline? Was it physical fitness? Was it ball retention? What was a typical training session like under Mr. Smith?
Okay. Well, first of all, let me say this here. We know that he didn't have no type of FA badge or coaching certificate and everything, but what he used the principles of life to us. What he said was, "I want you guys to protect each other on the field. If you see one of your colleagues struggling in a particular position, go over and help him out. Let him take your spot for a few minutes until he recovers. Then you go back, but you help the guy out. Or if you see the guy having a bad game, do not call him out on it. Just encourage him. And that's why I mentioned in the article also that one of the best captain that I've ever been under was Carlton Best. That's Clyde's brother.
Mm-hmm.
Carlton played center half, and he talked to us throughout the game. If he miskicked or even caused a goal, he would just look, "Don't worry about it. Look, just keep going forward. Keep going forward." Yeah, and but Icewater, he believed in being disciplined on the field, even though we lost by big scores. He said, "Look, do not become discouraged." He said, "What I'm doing, I'm trying to mold you guys here, to face life's issues. You're gonna take some bumps out there in life, and here's how you deal with it here on the football field, and play for each other." And also remember, you're playing for your fans. People, you look around and you see people supporting you. You're playing for them as well. So you don't let them down. So you fight right to the end. So he instilled there's major principles there. When it came around to working out formations and things like that, we just, of course, back in the old days we used the WM formation, the WM formation.
Yes.
But then again, he also believed in physical fitness. He wants the guys to be fit. If you lose the ball, you run back and chase the guy down. Don't just lay on the field, holler out like I do today, calling the referee. to build a vessel because they think they've been fouled. No, no, he wouldn't have that, you know. Yeah, and also, let me say this here. One of the reasons why we had the joy in playing the game is because of the opposition. He told us that he always had us play against stiff opposition in training. We played against the ships. We played against guys that were much better than us. But he said it's good for us because he said he can always arrange a game for a mediocre team, and yes, we could beat them. But he wants us to know what it's like to take a heavy licking, so that when we start getting together, then we can dish it out. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
A lot of teams today want to play against teams that they can easily beat, but they're not learning anything. But for us, after the game, we say, "Now, what did you guys learn? Where did we go wrong? And that's what we did. And the other thing what I liked about him was that he always looked to see how he can improve the team. Now, I'm going to sing you this little shocker now. The shocker is this: Willie Bradshaw didn't always play in goal. He played left back.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He had a strong left foot. I had a strong right foot. In fact, we could trade off each other. I was teasing. You give me your left foot, and I give my right foot, and then we'll be good players.
Right.
What happened?
Yes.
Icewater Smith, he put him in goal because we had problems with some goalkeepers, right?
Yes.
And one thing about Ice, like even though some of the goalkeepers were messing up, he didn't embarrass them. He just put his hands around the guy's shoulder and said, "Look, it's not working out, so I'm gonna allow Bradshaw to go and go." And Bully Beef he wanted to play and go. In fact, he had been asking, begging Icewater to let him go. Icewater said, "No, I don't want you to go and go." But eventually he gave in, and look what happened after that.
The rest is history.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so my first question a personal question for
Yes.
you is, so you guys started Mr. Smith started that program at Island Rangers. How old were you guys at that time? What was the age range of you
I would say
guys?
we were like teenagers. We were teenagers when we started because I would say we were teenagers, maybe around in the early sixes, middle sixes, thereabout. Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it's basically self-explanatory about your biggest influence on your young, when you came up, which is Mr. Smith, like you said.
That's right.
So name some of the players outside of Clyde, Carlton. Coolidge was a bit too young for that, was he?
Yes, he was a little. I'm not gonna say a toddler, but yeah, he was. Yes, he was. I'm not even sure if he was coming to the games now. He might have one or two games, but yeah, he was young. He was young.
Okay, because Coolidge, and Lou Simmons, who I played with, they came through the Island Rangers too.
Yes, they came out to us. Yes, that's right. Because what happened at that time, remember, after you reach a certain age, you were not allowed to play in that same league again. So that's why we went over to Somerset to play.
Okay, so that was basically a junior division that you were playing for
I would
Island
say like
Rangers.
a youth, junior youth type thing. Yes,
Yes.
yes. And then when we left, the unfortunate thing about it is that most of us almost were like around the same age.
Okay.
So we all departed. You left a big gap. So then Icewater started coaching the other guys coming after us.
Okay. So when did you? So once you went to Somerset, was it to Somerset Trojans, or was it still Somerset Coast?
No, it was Somerset Trojans.
And who was the coach at that time when you first went to Somerset?
It was Conrad Simons. Conrad.
Okay. Yes.
Conrad, and let me say this: when in fact, Icewater encouraged us, to go to Somerset because of the age and everything. But he said to us, and especially me in particular, he says, "Look, you're going to go to Somerset now, right? But do not forget your roots. Do not forget the basic things that you were taught. The determination. Working for your fellow man, and think about your spectators and your supporters. You're working for them, not for yourself. And I can remember a couple of times he would come to the games, and he would I'm gonna say he was spying on you guys to see how we were making it.
Right.
After the game, When everyone is left, he'll come over to us and say, "You guys did well. You did very good. You keep it up. Keep it up." Yeah.
Okay, so tell us the difference from when you left Island Rangers. Now you're involved with the Somerset trade. What was some of the differences that you noticed, early on?
Okay. I would say the main difference was that we were now entering. It was a sort of a step up, a big step up, right? Already had the foundation. As an example, as a defender, um, you I knew how to defend. Once you know how to defend, no matter what team you're playing against, or what division you're in, you have to do the same thing. Defending is defending, right? And I can remember one player that I admired. He lived in St. George's. I think he might have been a policeman or he played for police. Uh, I've forgotten his name, but anyway, he was a strong defender. And when he tackled, I mean, the winger used to make a lot of noise. I like that. I like that, right? Because it sent a message to the winger that you meant business. Now, he wasn't dirty, but and I always admired the guy, even when I was playing for Island Rangers. Because what happened at the time, a lot of teams used to come over to more if you're playing and play against your ship or play against each other in friendly games. Like the police, even the prisoners, the prison uh,
The inmates,
at the time, it was some casemates, right?
casemates, yeah.
Prisoners used to march up. The wardens used to march them up to the malls playing, and those guys were playing in the prison boots. We call it prison boots. They only had one or two guys that had football boots, but these guys had prison boots, and they would play. And we used to pick out certain players that we like the way this guy played. So for me, I'm trying to think of the name of the guy. He's from St. George's too. He drove a truck. What's his name? Anyway, I admire the way he played. So then coming over to Somerset, it was a big difference in that Conrad Summers, I would say that he was a professional coach. Um, he was so professional that if we were, let me say this here. At that time, I hadn't made the first team because we had two teams. I was in the second team. We called it the B team, right?
Hmm.
But if on a Saturday, the day before a game, if we were up at West End School kicking the ball around, and if Conrad saw we guys up there kicking the ball around, he would come over and take the ball away from us. Because he said, I don't want any of you guys to get injured. He said, these are the games where you get injured, in these little friendly games.
Mm.
So every time we had somebody on the lookout to see if Conrad was coming on the street, and if he came, we'll retreat. You know what I mean? But it taught us a lot. I mean, he was a true professional. He would put us on a curfew and say, well, look, if I know one particular guy, he was scoring all the goals for Somerset. And one night he was seen by Conrad out after a certain hour, sitting in a certain stool, right?
You can call his name. We have no secrets on this show.
Okay, fine. I'm my mate, Boyley Smith. Boyley Smith.
Yep.
Boyley Smith. And
No
anyway,
secrets right here.
the very next day, on the early game, right? We had our team meeting and everything. And he didn't announce the team right there and then. And when we got down in the changing room, changing up, he said, okay, this is the team. And he left Boyley's name out.
Wow.
And Boyley asked him why. And he explained to why. I saw you and Boyley had admitted, yeah, you did. So again, he's a professional coach. That's the way he operated, and we like that. We admired it, And for us who try and get into the team, a lot of guys see one thing about Somerset. A lot of guys would hope and pray that they didn't get injured because they knew that once they got injured, the guys that came in is going to take their spot. It's going to take their spot. It would be hard for the other guy to get back in again. So that's the way we were. We were very competitive. But it was good. Yeah. So
let me just add. Unfortunately, Ice Water's having technical difficulties.
Okay. All right.
He's going to continue to try to get in, but
yeah. Okay. That's fine.
having a bit of technical difficulties.
Okay.
But let me ask you, off of Dennis' questions right there.
Yes.
What did you guys used to do in the off time? Because I know a lot of people still like to play at times. So what did you do in the off time?
Hey, yeah, up in for Somerset, you mean?
Well, for even for Dockyard.
Okay, let me stop in Dockyard and I'll go to Somerset. Well, for Dockyard, what we guys did, we never kept quiet. Remember, I mentioned earlier that we played against your ship. We had ships, English ships coming in, and I guess for recreation and what have you. So they always wanted a game. So I would arrange football games against your ship. So even during the summertime, it was hot and everything. We were playing, and also they were wanting the cricket game. We played cricket as well,
Mm.
right? And outside of that, we would get our fishing lines and we all go fishing together. You know, the guys from Birds Island would come to the dockyard and go fishing, but we never show them where our main spot was, right? Because they would come back and take all our fish, right?
You can tell Dennis now that.
Yeah. But that's what we did. And dockyard we all hung out together. And then the other thing is that in dockyard, when the ships came in, they always provided some type of entertainment for the crew. So they used to have movies uh, at the stern of the boat or the ship. And of course, we, like I said now, but illegally climbed on the wall, and we would take our fishing lines and we would fish and also watch the movie at the same time. And you're talking about us staying there till about maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, watching these movies there, right? And, and again, it was Clyde and myself and a couple of other guys, that's what we did. But we constantly were always together, played football together in the yard. I can remember one time we had a team meeting at Icewater's house, and Icewater said, okay, first on the agenda, I'm getting complaints from the neighbor, this particular neighbor, that you guys are knocking down the knickknacks off her wall and her picture frame off the wall, right? Because the ball is hitting the wall and knocking it down. So everybody said, yeah, that's Clyde. Clyde did it. Yeah, it was Clyde. And he put his hand up, yeah, it was me. And that's how hard he hit the ball, But that's how that's how we react to each other. We sort of work together. Then over in Somerset, what we did over in Somerset, and I'm sure you know about this one, Dennis. Every year there was a friendly game between Scotts Hill Celtic and Point Rangers.
Okay.
Right? That represented, Scotland. You had Rangers,
Scotland.
Celtic, right?
Yeah.
So the Scotts Hill Rangers, Scotts Hill Celtic guys, was a part of this half the Somerset team, and the other part was the guys from the dockyard, and a part of the Somerset guys that came from on the other side of the bridge, either the Somerset Bridge or Watford Bridge. So we had guys like Dirk Simmons was playing for, Point Rangers, Clyde and myself, you guys were Point Rangers because we were over the bridge. But you were surprised, man, the amount of people that came to those games. And this is pre-season. We just played on Naval Field. Somehow they wouldn't let us play up at the Sun Cricket Club. I don't know why, but we just played on Naval Field. And man, I tell you, you want to see guys down there watching the game. I mean, traffic all backed up, watching this game, and people look forward to it. Lake Geraldine Simons played from Point Rangers and everything. It was really a community effort, and that's why Somerset was always close knit because we did everything together. And again, guys would go swimming, everybody would go swimming together. Guys would take their girlfriends, they all go swimming, and then some of the guys we would run back over to the club just to see who could beat, whoever, and that's how close knit we were, Yeah.
Yeah. What was some of this? What was as when you were in dockyard before getting into Somerset? What was some of your toughest opposition?
Oh, well, the toughest opposition would have been the Somerset Colts. They used to slam us. All maybe 6-0, 10-0, and everything. But then eventually, we ended up beating them, and when we defeated them for the first time over at some cricket club, man. I've never seen so many guys in Somerset Colts almost cry, man. You know what I mean? See, we had guys like Gregory Gilbert, Bozzy Gilbert playing for us as well. And I remember, I'll never forget it. Bozzy Gilbert was playing center half, good center half, man. And apparently, back in the day, they had like, what you call it, conch jobs or hair process, guys would go up to here like, straight hair, right? Uh-huh. And we played against Somerset Colts. And in halftime, I just wanted to tell Buzz, look, you made the decision to go and get a conch job, right? That doesn't mean that you can't head the ball, okay? I want you to head the ball, man. So he said, don't head the ball, I'm going to head you, okay? So the second half, Buzz was heading the ball, left, right, and center. When he came to the field, he looked like a sea egg, man. He was sticking out like Don Key, man. We won the game. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's how you guys,
you hear a lot about Buzz.
Yes, he was a good player, very good player. Yeah. So I would say Somerset Colts was the top. And then, of course, well, playing against the ship, like I said, and the ship was beating us sometimes 11-0, 12-0. Then eventually the score started to, reduce, which showed us that we were making progress,
Right.
And then a couple of times we did beat the ship. We beat the ship. And again, I want to mention, in the article I had mentioned about, a lot of people say that Graham Adams was the one that discovered, Clyde Best, but it wasn't. It was the guys on the ship, the English guys. They pointed Clyde out. They said that guy's going to be a great player, right?
Mm.
And every time they had like an intership game, they would ask Clyde to play for one of the teams, and we was gonna support him, and then
Mm.
in the game, a guy would give him Clyde his boots or give him, a jersey or whatever, So yeah, so I would say Somerset Coast the ship, and we played against Hampton Rangers. Randy Bean was a little nuisance, man. Randy put the ball through your legs and everything.
Very skillful, yeah.
Yeah, but as a as we were taught as a defender that you never watch the man's legs, watch the ball. You know what I mean? So they could jump over, step over as much as they like. With the ball was stationary, take the ball and hit him out to out. You know what I mean? The ball is
Man on the ball. That's what I learned from you
that's right.
guys.
That's right. Watch the ball.
Go through them both.
Yes, right. Yes, take them both. Yes. And while I'm on that, let me say this here. I remember we played a FA Cup final up at the stadium and played against hotels. And my good friend, Mr. Derek Scott, he was playing left wing. And just before the game started, I said to Derek, look, Derek, it's a good day today. It's a little hot, but let's just enjoy the game. Don't do anything crazy. He says, man, I'm running about you. I'm not running about you at all, man. So anyway, I said, okay. So the game started. They passed the ball to Derek, and he ran down the wing. I was playing right back. He's left wing. And he put the ball through my legs, but the ball went out. I said, look, I told you, don't act up. Don't act up. I'm not running about you. So he tried to do the same thing again. But it was like a 50-50 ball. But when I tackled him, man, he ended up in the bleach, man. Up in the just next thing, next time he went over to room
To the other side.
stayed over there on his side. Yeah, stayed over there. So job was done. I
Did
did my
your job.
yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah, Dennis.
So question, Si. Okay, coming up in Somerset was a pleasure. Before I ask this question, because you said you started with the second team.
Yes.
How long did it take you to get into the first team?
Oh man, it really took me about, I'm gonna say maybe about full time. I'm gonna say it took me about maybe about 3 seasons.
Whoa.
Because remember now, I was playing fullback, or depending on who they're playing against. Like if they wanted someone to be the marking center half, I would play the center half, but be the marker. But it took me about 3 seasons before I really established myself in the Somerset team, right? Because I was competing against guys like you had Rudy Miners there, you had Kenny Ken, you had Bobby Tucker, you had all them guys that were good defenders that were there. Gordon Chumley was there, and so I just said I'll wait for my chance to come, but I never became discouraged. I never. At the time, I was doing shift work. I worked for Cape and Wallace. It was my only full-time job that I ever had, and because I was doing shift work, I never used to train with the guys, like say for 5 days, because I was doing shift work. And all right, if I was making 11 to 7, 11 in the morning to 7, I couldn't train, right? But when I was making midnight to 8, I would go down in the morning and train, by myself, right? Work on my defects, you know what I mean? In the heading and everything, and try to use my left foot, against the wall.
Yeah.
And so when they pick the team, some guys would say, well, I didn't see Simon's training. So Conrad would say, no, he's been training, because I came and I saw him on the training by himself. So that's how competitive things were, that even though I was not in the team, but I still had to keep up, Yeah.
And one of the things that I enjoyed when I was coming out watching you guys is we had 2 like fullbacks that were like wingers.
Oh yeah. Okay, overlapping.
Rudy Miners
Mm-hmm.
on one side and yourself on the other side. Where did you get that? Where did you get that from? Like the attacking. Wow, that was unbelievable to watch. Even back then.
Okay.
Where did that come from?
Yeah. Okay. For me, as I mentioned earlier, I was taught how to defend. Now I pretty well felt comfortable in being a defender, right? But then I'm asking myself, well, how can I help the the forwards out? How can I help them out? So I was pretty well. I was in good shape. I was physically fit. Didn't have no girlfriend or anything at that time. I was in good shape. Right? No distractions, right? No
No
distractions.
distractions. Okay.
And as I said, like sometimes Clyde and you guys will run from Dockyard over to Somerset or over to Birds Island and back, just keep in shape. So I said, you know what? I like overlapping. So Conrad and even Randy, on the Randy sometimes, they saw that, okay, this could be a big asset, right? So when I did get in the team, what we would do, and this is what I like about Somerset again, and that's why they were so professional. We always studied the opposition.
Mhm.
Give an example. Social Club, they were a good team, very good team, but they had two defenders that were actually forwards, right? But they, really not good defenders. So what we would do, and one of them, my brother-in-law, Coach Watt, right? So what we would do, we would have a plan. When we train that week, the emphasis would be placed on putting pressure on the two fullbacks. So what got away in putting pressure is by attacking them. So what we would do in training, um, Conrad would say, okay, let's do a game like scenario, right? So we'll kick off, and all I had to do was just run down toward the corner flag. And George knew when to pass me the ball. But then we had a signal. Um, I made certain signals that would indicate who I was going to cross the ball to, either to Randy or to George or even to Dirk, right? That was a little signal that we had. So anyway, when the game started, and we kicked off, I'm running down the wing, and people speculated laughing. What's wrong with that boy? That boy running down there, what's he running down there for? Then George gave me the ball, and at that time, Cisco, they were hitting. They were doing well. And in the first half, we had put 5 in them, and they still were stunned. They didn't know what happened. They were stunned. They didn't know what happened. See, because we were studying the opposition.
That's
Again
important.
against North Village, we know that Gumbo was a good player, excellent player, right? But you can't let him get inside of you. You know what I mean? Keep him on the outside, run him down the line or whatever. And again, we studied all that before we played the opposition. Devonshire coach, Gary Darrell. Now we know that Gary was so successful. What he would do, he would push the ball ahead of you. He would get close to you and then push it ahead of you and run onto you. And that's how he scored a lot of goals, right? So what we would do, our job was to sort of like thank him, pretend that we're gonna come side by side, then drop off. Then when he pushed the ball, we just collect the ball, play the ball back to the goalkeeper, and that's it. So you have to study the opposition. You know what I mean? Study the opposition and know what you have to do. And the other thing, for me personally, what I used to do, I used to always study how I'm going to deal with the opposing person who I'm going to mark, right? And that would be on my mind for the night before the game. How I'm going to deal with this person, right? Sometimes yes, they got the best of me, right? But I'll say most times, I was ahead because I knew what I wanted to do.
It's interesting, Dennis, that we hear that these guys studied their
Yeah,
opponent,
for real.
but didn't have the technology that we have today.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Unbelievable.
so,
Yeah.
so how did you study your opponent throughout the season? Because obviously, sometimes you're playing simultaneously. So, how did you have guys go out and take a look, or just when you weren't playing, you guys were watch a certain player or certain team?
Well, it was pretty easy, and I'll tell you why. You see, once a player is recognized as being a good player, there may be one or two good attributes that he would always use in the game. You know what I mean? Like if it's a good dribbler, you know that he's going to try and beat you with the ball, right? Or if it's a good sprinter, you know that you can't stay too close to him, right? So that whenever you're ready to play against him, then you know what to expect. Now I found one of the hardest guys that I found to sort of deal with was Ellie Wilson. Ellie was quick, but he was an unorthodox player because the ball up around by his neck, he would put his foot up by his neck and school and hit the ball in the back of the neck. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Similar to Dutch Simmons. Dutch Simmons, a ball would come across a shorter height and that would volley the ball in the back of the net. Now, any coach would tell you that that's impossible to do, but that's what Dutch did. But for Ellie Wilson, like I said, he was just one of the type of players that was hard to sort of read, but you couldn't stay beside him. You had to stay back a bit so he could run into you, and then you steer him over to either side. And also you recognize what is the player's best foot. Do they have both feet that they can hit the ball with, or is it one favorite foot that they use? You know what I mean? So you try and sort of like maybe step on his good foot, so he can struggle a bit, you know what I mean? Sort of just step on the foot accidentally, to sort of come into position. Or if they're running beside him, and he's got a little jump on, you take your hand, put it on his thigh. So when he brings his thigh back up, you sort of pull a little thigh muscle, anyway, something like that. You know what I
See,
mean?
Earl, I learned a lot covered off in Somerset, brother.
Yeah. So
Listen,
this is
that was those two things were island wide when you played with older guys. You learned how to stop the opposition one way or the other, maybe.
Yeah.
And you had to be slick and getting away with it.
Yes, and the other thing too is that if you're playing, and if you notice, Dennis, I'm sure you can confirm this. One of the fields that Somerset always struggled playing on was Devonshire,
Correct. Yeah.
especially at night, because of course the lights. I think that was a setup, right? Because their lights, man, they're all over the place, right? But if it was a wet ground, a wet field, what we used to do is that say, okay, free kicks in the box. You got the wall lined up, and you're about to take the free kick. So what we would do, they would say, okay, Simon, I want you to blast the ball in the wall, blast it, right? And I would blast the ball, man. The guys, turning their backs, or the ball would hit him in the chest or whatever, right? So they would get another free kick. So they're expecting the same thing, but then we had a plan. We would chip the ball over to the far post, and then Randy or George would hit the ball in the net. So they were confused as to how they would deal with their free kick. Only because we were studying the opposition or studying the conditions, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Nobody wanted to stand on the wall. They got blasted in the
That's
first
right.
5 minutes.
That's right. And let me say this here. Yeah, let me say
I'm tired of my lacing. I can't get in that wall.
Speaking of lacing, let me say this here. When we was playing for the Island Rangers, remember now, we didn't have these so-called modern day footballs that they have now.
Yeah.
We had the leather ball with the lacing in it. That ball got wet, made you left the lacing marks on your forehead. You know what I mean? And also, we didn't have like say 2 and 3 footballs. We had one football over mostly playing, right? And the ball went overboard, he didn't have to go and get it. One of our players jumped overboard, get the ball, and bring it back and start the game.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and Icewater had given Clyde and myself the responsibility of marking the field out. We had to walk over to Burrs Island, over to the Bermuda Industrial Gases lime kiln, get the line, put it in a 5-gallon bucket, bring it back to multi-playing, and mark the field out. Right, that was our responsibility. Also, my responsibility also was to use polish. I was using the dubbin. You heard of dubbin? The dubbin is like a clear polish.
Yeah.
Also, oxblood. Oxblood was like a shoe polish, right? But then I got blamed by the goalkeepers for saying that they let the goals go in because the ball was too slippery. So they blamed me for that, right? So I think that's why I just want to change the goalkeeper. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's not hearing that excuse. But yeah, that's what we had to do. You had to mark the field out, and I feel this is a something that players should do. Don't just be a player, but look at the other side of the game as well. Right. Marking the field out.
I was going to ask that. How much of doing that responsibility teaches you discipline about the game? Because without a field mark, nobody could play. But a lot of players wait for someone else to do it when it's something. If you want to play, you can actually do yourself.
That's right. And when we mark the field out on a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, I would tell Clyde, look, don't look at but this ice water laying up on top of the bank there. You got to do it over again, right? So we got it right the first time. Just taught us that whatever we do, whether it's a free kick or it's a pass, get it right the first time.
Right.
Yeah, so it taught us a lot, and also it taught us to be more responsible. Yeah.
What of all the players you played with, who would stand out the most for you as a complete player?
Okay. Let me say this here, right? I'm glad you asked that question. I played my first international game for Bermuda against Jamaica. And the reason why I played in that game is because Noah Simons, who was a regular fullback for the Bermuda squad, he had twisted his ankle, and so they told me that no, you're going to play today. I said, okay, no problem. But the thing is, we're playing against Jamaica, and I'm sure you heard his name. You ever Skill Cool?
Yes.
That's the first guy I've seen. Okay, he was, you had locks and everything. First, it was my first sort of introduction of guys wearing locks, right? But this guy was so skillful, man. He was so skillful. And the thing is, he played left wing. He played left wing, right? And I really want to, I continue to thank Joe Trott, because Joe Trott was the center half. And Joe knew it was my first international game. He came over to me and said, look, Chip, play your usual game, right? Don't let this guy intimidate you and everything, and it's what encouraged me, right? I said, okay, thanks a lot. Anyway, make a long story short, the game finished 1-1. And after the game, the guy, Skill Cool, came over to me and shook my hand and said, yeah, man, good game, man, good game. He couldn't do anything on that day, Every time he tried to flick and everything, I was there. Again, only because of what I had been taught from my earlier days at Dockyard and
Yes.
Somerset, yeah. So I would say Skill Cool. And of course, Mr. Maynard for Devonshire Rack.
So Alan Maynard?
Alan Maynard. Man, that guy, when he was on, right? And I, even up to today, when I see him, I said, how many times you caused me to be substituted? I had a big game against you, and he started laughing and everything, but he was a very good.
He was very good.
Gumbo's a good player, but I would say Skill Cool was the top player. Yeah.
There you are.
Fifth coming in now. Here he is.
There he is, the man
He
himself.
finally made it.
That's the first time he's been late, man. First time he's been late, and I was saying late before.
Put your camera down. Put your camera down just a little bit, or sit up.
What happened, brother?
Bring your
We're here
camera
now.
down.
We're here now. Sit up. Can you see yourself?
Just a second. You guys are beating up. Will fella. That's what you're doing.
Very good. Here's the man himself. The
That's
man
him.
himself.
That's him.
Well, welcome. It's been a
Well,
challenge, but we're here.
I'm so glad to be on because I heard Clarence Simon saying a whole lot and
Oh boy.
a whole lot. I just told my wife Clarence can talk his head right off the shoulders tonight. I would have liked to. I would have liked
Telling us how you got the guys together to start everything. Why did you see the need to make sure these guys were on the straight and narrow?
Say it again, brother.
Why did you see the need to keep these guys on the straight and narrow to get them started?
Well, let me just say this to you. When I was about 15, 16 years of age, living in North Shore, we had the same problem in North Shore. Guys were getting in a whole lot of trouble. And the only reason why I didn't get in much trouble because I had a father or a dad that would beat me for nothing. So the thing is this, I saw where it was necessary. These guys needed some type of mentoring way back then. So I started even a football club when I started working in North Shore. And then I tried to enter them in the league way back then, but the league wouldn't accept them because of the reputation that the chaps in Pembroke East had. They never accepted us in the league. So I went on to take the chaps to Happy Valley Sports Club, where J.W. Phipps had entered the club into the league, but he never had no players. So he took all the players that we had from North Shore, and then when that came to an end, I moved to Somerset. And I saw the same need in Somerset. Chaps up there that needed some assistance. My thing was I always saw where a male needed to become a man. It's not that I was a man at 16. As I said, my old man kept me in check way back then. But I saw a need for a male to become a man. Even today, I see a need for a male to become a man. I don't know if I'm making any sense to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know because we got a lot of males today, but we got very few men, if you understand. So in these young men in Somerset, Dockyard, they didn't have nothing to do. And I thank my wife for supporting me even way back then. She's always supported me. right down through the whole thing. So we got together a little team in Dockyard, and I demand discipline. I really demand discipline. Some of them didn't want to be disciplined, so I gave them a choice. If you want to play, then you got to play under the rules and regulations. You understand? I'm not like these coaches you got today. But the guys came through very good. They took some serious licks in the beginning. Serious licks they took. But they came out on top after a while. You know, they improved the game. And of course, I don't know if Clarence said anything about Clyde Best some years ago. Clyde was a hard young man. I just as well tell you right now, he was a bully. I'm telling you, Clyde didn't go to England to play soccer because he was a chicken. I just will tell you that he didn't go there because he was a bully. At 14, 15 years old, do you realize that Clyde Best decided that he wanted to take me on because I was disciplined?
Oh.
He decided that.
Oh, wait till I talk to him.
So that I ain't gonna tell you what happened to him, but that was the end of that thing right there. But then when it came to picking the team, we only had about 12, 14 guys. That's all we had. And Clyde was one of our top players, and I left him out of the game. And the rest of the players, Mr. Smith, you're not gonna leave Clyde out, are you? They said he's one of our best players. So all I said to them, anybody else on this team don't feel like playing? And that was the end of the day. Nobody said anything. That was a line of discipline.
Yeah.
But as a result of that, Clyde came down want to be an extremely good player. In fact, he told me during his junior days, he said, Mr. Smith, you're going to have to pay to see me play one day. That's what he said to me. I'm going to tell you right now. And I'm glad I paid to see him. I paid to see him play because there was a game I think they played against. It was either Mexico or one of them teams up at Prospect Field way back then. And one of the best goals I was seeing scored in my life, Clyde Best scored it up on that field up there. The ball was swung across from the left side. Clyde took the ball on his chest. And the next thing of that, the ball was in goal. He volleyed the ball right in the net. What a goal. I can still see it today.
Yeah.
But I'm just thankful. I just like to help young men, my brother. That's all it is. I love men. I have to tell the guys in the prisons all the time, I love you all, but don't get the wrong conception. Whatever you don't get the wrong idea. So, I mean, my life is all about instilling some type of manhood into a male. That's what my life is. And I think God called me way back then to do such a thing. And I mean, I've had a lot of licks in my life, and I'm talking about verbally licks now. I mean, I've not had too many physical licks. I had a lot of verbally licks. People that lied about you and so on, but only because I was trying to do the right thing. Who do you think you are? I'm sure some of you guys have heard that. Who do you think you are and all this type of stuff? But it didn't bother me because I had one thing in my mind was to make man out of some males.
Right. Dennis?
Yeah, Mrs. Smith, and going back, because I started Casemates in 1985, and I remember you coming up there for the prison fellowship. And one of the things I remember, like right up to today, was the respect that the hardcore, people call them prisoners, but I call them as an officer, inmates. Right. Hardcore inmates, the respect that they had for you, like because the way you talk, the way you walk, like it speaks of confidence within yourself and also discipline from the people who are around you. Where did that discipline come from?
Well, as I said, that I had when I was a young man growing up, they had apprentice schools. Not a school per se, but if you went to get a job, you had to be an apprentice. And the individuals I worked on the way back then, they were very disciplined individuals. I mean, they were excellent tradesmen, and you had to do what they asked you to do. So I learned how to be disciplined as a result of their demands. And my dad, as I said, he was a disciplinarian himself. So I learned not to be a compromiser, Brother Braun. I'm not a compromising man. I don't believe in it.
Okay.
I believe in standards.
Yeah.
Now, don't think for a moment that I'm been a perfect individual myself. I have not been, but I believe in standards. I always put myself forward for standards. I was telling someone today, in fact, he's an ex-prisoner. He calls me every time. I said, learn how to do the right thing. I says, it's a challenge. You got to be challenged to do the right thing, but you must practice to do the right thing. It's very easy to do wrong. Practice to do right, and then you got a job on your hands if I'm making any sense to you. You got to practice to do right. Even if I look at young men today in soccer and so on, I think some of the coaches are too soft. I just as well tell you that they're not making man out of them individuals.
Whoa.
They're soft, man.
Speak.
And another thing, you know, this thing you guys play soccer with today, you call it a football. Man, that's a toy. The ball we played years ago when it got wet, I assume the ball must have weighed about 6 to 8 pounds when it got wet. I'm serious. And can you imagine a guy taking a shot at you, trying to shot at goal, and that ball hit you? I mean, that leather ball was hard and heavy, man. And guys, they bought it. They were butted. If some of these young guys butted today, they'll go flat out on the field. I can tell you right now. All that type of thing. I mean, what could I say, man? What could I say?
Earlier, Mr. Simons was saying that even when you encouraged guys to go over to Somerset, you still kept tabs on them. Was that to ensure that they stayed with the early teachings from you?
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt. These boys had great respect for me. I mean, I didn't play with these guys, you know. These guys are man today. You know, they got great respect, and I just thank God for it, man. I thank God for these guys. I love these guys. A lot of these, I've got guys who have gone and made a name for themselves, man. It's a wonderful thing. A wonderful thing. I'm sure the Clarence wants to tell you about some of the guys that played with the Rangers. And I didn't play with any of them. When I say play, I didn't play around with them. I wanted them to be serious. And today people look at me, they say to me, why are you so serious? I said, these are serious times. Times are extremely serious right now.
Definitely.
The thing that comes to my mind, when we started out, as I mentioned in the article, that we were playing in white T-shirts. I think we had numbers taped on our backs, right?
Yes.
So, you know, the cry ran out, look, you know, we need jerseys. So Mr. Smith says, so look, you guys need an outfit, right? Yeah, okay. It's not going to be handed to you. You guys need to earn it, right? You need to earn it yourselves. So what we did, we went around to the neighborhood and all around Dockyard and Bills Island. We were doing the odd jobs. We even ended up washing people's clothes, right? People's clothes and everything, right? Or clean the windows so that we can get enough money so we can buy a kit. And when we got that kit, man, it was like a kid on Christmas morning, man. Our eyes lit up, and you know, and we cherished those jerseys. We put those jerseys on. We were representing Dockyard, you know. Yeah, you know, and it was amazing how just putting on a jersey can give you that sort of feeling where you are somebody. You have arrived, you know. Yeah.
Being that you said that, let me ask you, how did you guys come up with your color scheme?
With your color scheme?
Yes.
I mean, I don't really know, man. I tell you the truth. But that was, I don't know how many years ago that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But one of the things, Clarence, what I'd like to say about earning things, if you want to grow in life, you got to learn to humble yourself. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Humility is a great thing. Even I'm looking at Brother Brown right there. He's been coaching for years. You don't get men to humble themselves, you can't develop them. They must learn to exercise and walk in the spirit of humility. They have to do that. But you got a lot of proud young men out there, full of stupid pride. That's all it is. I would like to coach some of them. I can tell you right now, I have them who have to sit on the sideline. I don't care how good you can play. It's your mentality that I'm concerned about. I don't care how good you can be as good as you like. You're gonna sit out there until you do what you're supposed to do. It's called discipline.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yeah. Dennis?
So, another question for you, Mr. Smith. Because I also believe in a lot of discipline,
Yes.
and I'm not swayed by attitudes or egos or whatever. What type of advice would you give to the modern coach who may have this player who they may think that and I've seen it, like players cursing their coaches off and players getting substituted and acting up during jerseys done. What would you tell the modern, any coach, doesn't even have to be a modern coach, any coach, how to deal with, adverse situations like that?
I would say that you have to have a spirit of standards, Brother Brown. Standards.
Mm-hmm.
See, when you fail to exercise standards, positive standards, then you're getting into serious trouble. You have to have standards, and it goes for whomsoever. Whomsoever. And I imagine somebody is I didn't know much about how the administration in football goes today, but I would think they got a lot of softers at the head. I mean, they can talk to the Iceman. The one the Iceman can tell them. See, you must have standards. Am I making any sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
You must act. See, compromisation ain't gonna get you anywhere, man. You know what compromisation? I see compromisation is. It's a lie, man. An absolute lie. See, there's such a thing as truth, and there's such a thing as lies. So what you gonna do? Believe lies or accept lies or accept truth? You're all going that for me now.
But there, when you say standards, there are also different types of standards. You got
Come on now.
high standards, you got low standards. So which one are you talking about? Because
I'm
some
talking-
people have or medium standards. They let things go sometimes and they discipline sometimes. So what type of standards are you talking about?
I'm talking about high standards, brother.
Okay.
I'm talking about high standards. Ain't no way you can get me put any emphasis on low standards. I'm a high standard man, and so are you. I'm watched you play over the years. You got some high standards, and that's why you're coaching people today, because you care about people.
Yep.
That's what the whole thing is all about. It's about caring.
Yes.
It's about caring.
A lot of them don't see it now, but they'll see it like 10 years down the road. What Coach Braun, what Coach Smith was doing back in the day. Because it's not just about football; it's about life as well. Like you
That's
said.
right. That's right.
And while you're hitting on standards, let me share this little story with you. I can remember when dockyard, because I've been to boys' school, so we had to get up 6 o'clock in the morning to catch a bus, go to Somerset, and then transfer from there to Prospect. And I can remember at one time Mrs. Smith saying to my mother, "Look, tell Clarence that I'm working down by Prospect. I think you're working at building that house up by the hospital there, Smith." And he said, "Look, if you want me to take him to school, I'll take him down on my bike." He had a Triumph, right?
Yes, sir.
And that would save you having use bus tickets and all that stuff, right? So of course, my mom, she didn't ask me. She told me, "You're going with Mrs. Smith on his Triumph, right?" I had no problem with that, but this is the only problem that I encountered. Mrs. Smith only had one footrest on his Triumph, one footrest, right? And he said to me, "No, look, you got one footrest, so you need to keep your feet off the road, right? That does have a footrest." So here I am. I'm leaving dockyard and going down to Prospect with one foot on the footrest and the other foot up in the air, right? And you're talking about discipline. That told me a lot. As much, if he would have seen my face with an expression on my face, man, he probably would have stopped the bike and let me catch the bus, right? But I was disciplined enough to say, "Look, I'm getting a ride down. I got to encounter all the pain and all the suffering that I'm enduring. You know what I mean? And this is what life is all about. You're going to encounter some bumps in the road. You're going to encounter some issues, but you can't let those issues overtake you. And that's what helped me to be disciplined in whatever I do, on the field, off the field, wherever. Be disciplined, and that's a great word. Discipline is very important, and I
Amen.
think lack
Excuse
discipline.
me.
Yeah, the lack
Excuse,
discipline.
excuse me a second, please.
Yeah,
My wife has been a great supporter. She's going there to sit down. I'd like for my wife to come over here and sit beside me because that's what it's being all this. Is it all right with you?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
that should help me. And since we're sharing, I don't know how much time we got left, but I want to share this here. I'm not gonna let the coach get off this one here. Even though he was, he had the guy disciplined and he was always serious about everything, but there's a bit of humor that had taken place during his coaching career over at Dockyard. One afternoon, we were playing against a ship, and we were short by one player. Unfortunately, we didn't have a goalkeeper. So Mr. Smith had just finished work, had his construction clothes on, his big boots. He says, "Okay, I would go and goal." Right? So he went and goal. So we kicked off and everything, and the ship, they were, as usual, overpowering us and everything. So anyway, the midfield player is about 30 yards out. Boy, he struck this ball, man. The ball was up in the pigeon hill. And my coach decided that he's going to try and save the goal. He leveled off, and the ball went up in the corner, tucked in the corner, right? Anyway, okay, that was a goal, very good goal. But then the referee looked back at my coach goalkeeper. He was looking for something, he's looking for something. So he stopped the game, he went down to him, said, what's the problem? He had a pen knife out, and what do you think he was doing? He was digging out a part of his tooth out of the upright.
Oh, whoa.
When he had leveled off, somehow his mouth was open and I've never letting forget that. I never and guys started laughing. We started laughing sort of behind the scenes. You know what I mean? But that was funny. That was a highlight for me.
That's called giving your all for the team.
That's right. He put his teeth in everything. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Wow.
That was good. But it was fun. We had a lot of fun. And also,
Let me ask you, because
Yeah.
you're a disciplinarian coming up and all, but there was always going to be somebody who would challenge you. Who was one of those players that would always challenge you in your decision making?
In the decision making, Skeets Fobler.
Oh, whoa.
Skeets Fobler, yeah, he's a sort of quiet guy, but he
were the Somerset boys.
he's challenging. Yeah, that's what it was for Somerset coming out of him.
Oh, my God.
And also, Clyde Best would always challenge me. But I had some lovely guys, man. I had lovely players, and Carlton Best.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh man, these lovely guys. George Brangman.
Yes.
Many of them. I just can't even remember all of them.
Yeah.
Alan De Silva. Always looked at Alan De Silva as, I'm not sure many of you saw Calvin Bummy Simons when he was at his best as a soccer player. Calvin would, if you block Calvin would look at you like he wanted to kill you.
Yeah.
Because he'd tell you straight, Bummy Simons was a dangerous goal scorer. I'm gonna tell you right now, he believed in scoring goals. And if you blocked him in any way, he say you look out for the next one. That's what he'd tell you, because he was dangerous, man. Very, very. I can remember my brother who played goalkeeper way back then. Anytime we used to call him Knocker, Anytime Knocker would loose, my brother was saying, "Get him, man, get him," because I want to tell you that Bummy could kick a ball, man. He can kick a ball, don't it? I saw one time way back, the Bodgett brothers. These are white boys, The Bodgett brothers. They used to play way back then. They used to play water polo. Are you guys familiar with water polo?
Yeah.
They used to play water polo way back then. Them white boys had all types of sports they played, man. But the black guys couldn't play in water polo because they didn't want you in that area. But these Bodgett brothers, one of them was a goalkeeper in the water polo thing. And he can palm a ball. I'm going to tell you right now, he knew how to palm a ball, man. And he was goalkeeper for these. We were playing against, I think, was the BFC League. You had the BFL League and the BFC League. And
Yes.
Bummy took this shot. and the Bargett took the ball to palm the ball. The ball took Bargett and his hand and everything right in the net, man. I'm gonna tell you right now, that guy Bummy was vicious. He was, but I always took Alan De Silva. To me, Alan was a next Bummy Simons because Alan was a crit. Alan didn't like a goalkeeper. I used to always put it this way: he didn't like a goalkeeper. He loved goals, but he broke his leg twice. Broke his leg twice playing their soccer, trying to score goals. So I left him. I left him. I detained him after a while. You know, he got mad too. He said, "My leg is healing." I said, "I'm sorry, Alan. You don't have no insurance, man. You can't play no more, man." I'm telling you.
But Mr. Simons, some of the learning and the coaching and the teaching was not always on the field. How did the guys kind of take to that type of discipline outside your house? I remember back then you could be disciplined by anyone, but how did you guys take it?
Okay. Well, first of all, in regards to Mr. Smith, you see, he actually he was sincere in what he was doing, right? When he came around you guys, it was not about trying to fake it or what have you, right? He was sincere. He put the time in, right? And as I said earlier, he was trying to mold and shape us to face what's out there in life. You know, so we sort of like understood what he was trying to do for us, and because he was doing it for us, you know, we basically was dedicated to him, you know, because we felt that everything that, you know, that he said that if we do it, it's going to work out, and it did, you know, and it did, you know. And as I look back now on my life, you know, I say yes. Had I not listened to what he said, I could have been over at Westgate now. You know what I mean? Or at Westgate, you see. So and it was a different variety of guys that were there. You know, guys had a lot of issues, right? But Mr. Smith saw through all that, and he saw what we can be. So he put his time, his effort, and again with his wife beside him, you know, he was well respected. You know, and we carry some of the same disciplines even now. You know, and it's up to us now to pass it on to the next generation if they want to accept it. If they want to accept it.
I've got a comparison question, Dennis. When you went down to Devonshire Cougars, how were you recepted or accepted in that organization? And then, Mr. Smith, you coming from North Shore, going to Dockyard, how were you accepted before you got involved with the football? Dennis, you first.
Okay, when I went to Devonshire Cougars, I was basically wasn't easy like the first few months because, like Smith said, I set high standards. And I'm a type of coach. If you don't train, you don't play. I don't care who you are. And you know, it took a while, you know, before, you know, and one of the things that I learned going forward is that you have to also build relationships there in the discipline. But my thing at first was, you know, if you're not disciplined, you know, you can't go anywhere. I knew that, you know, they had the talent. You know, so the first year was basically about setting a foundation about my expectations. And then, you know, like I said, it wasn't easy with the help of Dago Steed and Earl Ruder, who educated me about the Cougars players. You know, that you know, eased the burden up a little bit. And then the second year when we came in, that's when we basically won the Triple Crown, and they knew what to expect from me, and vice versa. I knew what to expect from them. You know, it was a, you know, smooth transition. But when I first went, it wasn't easy because you get players who are used to, like Mr. Smith said, low standards.
Yes.
So you come late. You know, you come late to train, and you're still allowed to train. You come late to games. You know, I remember a game we were playing against Somerset this night, and we only had one keeper, and my players know you meet at least 90 minutes before the game. So this night here, you know, the game is at 9 o'clock, and it's now 8:30. Keeper's not there, so I end up putting the outfield player in goal. So 8:45, the goalkeeper shows up. So I said, where you going? You're not changing up tonight. I'd rather lose before I drop my standards, to stuff like that. Or the player who thinks that my philosophy has always been that our last training night, you must show up. You must show up because we're going over things for the next day. So this has happened at Cougars. That happened at Wolves as well when I first coached Wolves, and it also happened at Somerset. I'm not afraid to leave my starters out if they can have the discipline that is required from me as a coach, and you know what I mean, as other players. So a lot has to do with discipline. Like Mr. Smith said, a lot of coaches are afraid of the players. And what has happened with me is that you must reach their standards. If you can't reach their standards, then you're going to have a hard time with me, because at the end of the day, I can handle it. I worked in a prison. I dealt with adversity almost every day. So football was basically easy for me. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we have to. It starts with discipline and commitment and stuff like that. So that's my philosophy, and it will forever be my philosophy until I finish up.
I think also one of the problems we have today in the so-called modern day game is that the spectators play a major role as to why some players are so arrogant or don't want to be disciplined. As an example, you may get a star player that he may score 2 or 3 goals, what have you, and have a lot of tricks and everything. So the spectators go and tell him how good he is, and that gets to his head. So when he starts training and the coach wants to work with him on certain areas, he thinks that he's above that. You're not talking to me. I'm scoring your goal. I don't need to train or what have you. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now, I can imagine that same player trying to do that to Mr. Smith back in our time. He never would have got on the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But today, as was mentioned, the coaches today, they bowed on to these guys because they're winning the game for them. But remember, you're not just playing the game for the day. You're looking at someone's future. They're trying to shape them to what's to come out there. When they finish football, you think there's people going to worry about how many goals you scored 5-6 years ago? They want to know, what are you like now? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So game of football, it's like a school, and it can teach you about what life is all about. It's not a matter about winning or losing, but it's how you react when you win, how you react when you lose. Keep them calm mentality and help the next person. You are your brother's keeper. Help the person. Don't just look down on them and say, "Well, I've arrived." Well, you do your own thing. No, it's not about that. Working together.
Definitely. So, Mr. Smith, coming from North Shore up to Somerset or up to Dockyard, how did you get on with that?
Well, first of all, you're not a Somerset boy.
Yes.
I used to remind them that I am a Bermudian. You guys don't know the Iceman. See, that's your problem. I reminded that I'm a Bermudian and I can go where I like in this country. So this is what got me over. Do you know how long? I'm not even sure I'm still got status today in Somerset. I'm serious. Because they talked for years to remind me that I wasn't a Somerset boy. But when they find out I had relatives, by them Somerset people are something different, I can tell you right now. Georgia's people are like that. When they find out I had status in Somerset, they eased off on me a little bit. Yeah, I got some past family in Somerset. When they find out that, well, they say, well, you're still not a Somerset boy. So I had problem with some of the players. But like I said, I exercise discipline. I exercise standard. I was so glad to hear Brother Bronze speak what he don't compromise, my brother. I'm serious right now. I know you're not a compromising man. That's why I love you when you were in the prisons. You're not a compromising man. I don't play that game. And I didn't play that game around all Somerset people. I am just a man that's named Icewater Smith from Bermuda, not from North Shore, Bermuda. I can go anywhere. I could be, remember way back in the day, them guys talking about gangs today. You can't go here and you can't go there. Man, I'm going to tell you, they had the same problem way back when I was a youngster. But I went because this island belongs to me, just like it belongs to them.
Mm.
So I didn't have a whole lot of problems. I'll be only than the fact that I don't know if I have status in Somerset today or not. I really don't know.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, they should name a road after you.
yeah.
Yep, they should.
And to reinforce what Mr. Smith is saying, that's why I'm really grateful that I didn't sort of stay in Somerset, for all my life, right?
Mm.
I can remember when Claude and I had to make a decision which secondary school we needed to attend to. We decided that we would go to boys' school down in Prospect only because that they came out early, 2:30 in the afternoon, and we liked that idea, right? Well, we were supposed to go to Sam's in Somerset again.
Mm.
So when we signed up and everything, lo and behold, they changed the hours back to the regular hours, right? But we were not discouraged because it gave us an opportunity to meet guys in Hamilton,
Yes.
Mm.
in other parts of the parish, the guys from St. George's, guys from all over, right?
Mhm.
And we played football together. The only and I'm gonna say a problem, but it's not a real problem. The only thing was on Monday mornings when we came to school, and and some had won their matches. We got a little funny looks from the guys. You know what I mean? Because we had just defeated their teams.
Right.
But when it came around to us playing football together, you know, um, you know, we just linked together as one happy unit. It wasn't matter about where you came from. We were the boys from on top of the hill.
Mm.
So I really appreciate that. And as Mr. Smith was saying, I mean, I can go from Dockyard down to St. David's and back, and guys would sing out. And we had this sort of code that we use: blue shirts and pretty ties. And all I had to say to a guy, blue shirts and pretty ties, and the guy would start smiling. And these guys were guys who were hanging about the streets, but they were my former schoolmates. And I'll say blue shirts and pretty ties, and they'll smile. Why? Because what happened, Mr. Cunningham, he was the principal. And I'm sure you heard about. I'm going to put sort of Mr. Smith and Cunningham in the same category, man, in terms of discipline, right? I mean, I don't know who's the hardest, but they both get first prize, right? But anyway, one day during assembly, Mr. Cunningham made an announcement. He says, "Look, I got a report that my boys were down there stealing oranges from off of Mr. Cox's orange trees, right?" So I said to the person that complained, "Well, how do you know it was my boys?" He said, "Well, because they had blue shirts and pretty ties on, right?" So that's how we got the name Blue Shirts and Pretty Ties, But yeah, I'm glad that I got out of Somerset and got to sort of fellowship with the guys outside of Somerset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final question, Dennis?
Yeah, just to both of you, and I ask this question to everybody every week. What advice would you give to the current player to go to the next level? The player may be mediocre now or have good ability, but what would you say to the current player to go to the next level?
Okay. Top of the list for me would be discipline. Be disciplined. Recognize your defects. In other words, if you cannot trap a ball properly or control the ball properly, take time out on your own to practice that. Get on top of that, right? Also, remember that you're working with not 10 other guys on your team, so you are a group and not an individual, right? And also, do not get caught up into the hype of the game, whereas you think that you are bigger than the game.
Mm.
Also, listen to your coach. Your coach is telling you to do something, or want to play a certain position for this particular time, go ahead and do it. Your coach knows what he's talking about, right? Because again, I give you the example of Sheldon Bradshaw. He was a fullback left. When Mr. Smith saw that we needed a goalkeeper, he put Bully Beef in goal.
Mm.
Put him in goal. And strikers were afraid to even go one-on-one on Bully Beef because he would take the ball, the player, everybody, off the pitch. That's how strong he was, Yeah. So that's what I would say, those things,
Okay.
Smith?
Well, what I would say is the most important is to exercise discipline in your life, to learn to be humble.
Mm.
humility will get you growth. It will get you growth. And one of the things today the world suffers from is a lack of respect one for another. So these young men need to be taught respect. But again, I look at the elders today. The elders today, they show very little respect for one another. So what do you expect for the youngsters to do? So we ourselves, in fact, I myself, I am always blaming the elder. People don't like me very much. I said, B dropped the ball. I know I didn't drop the ball, but it says, I can't say you dropped it. I said, B dropped the ball. Let me start compromising and disrespecting one another. That's where your problem is today. Teach the young people, but if you try to even say something to a young person, you know, first thing comes out of their mouth. I know. I know. This is what they say. I remember one time I had a guy working with me, a construction site, and I said to him, James, go in the shed, and next thing I knew, he was in the shed. Then he gets in the shed. He said, what you want, Mr. Smith?
Yeah.
I didn't tell him to go. I said, James, go in the shed and get me a squirrel. Then I said, go in the shed. He was gone. Then he gets in the shed. He wants to know, what do you want? So the thing is this, we must learn to listen. Learn to listen. I'm on the phone with many people today. You know what they keep saying to me? Mr. Smith, are you still there? Why do you think they keep saying I'm still there? Because nobody listens today. Everybody knows everything. And what could you learn by not listening? You must be a listener. You must be a listener. And to them that are out there having a problem listening, they need to know the Lord Jesus Christ and the pardoning of the sins, because this is where I became a man. I thought I was a man. All my life I thought I was a man. But you know when I became a man? At 55 years of age when I became a man. At 55, I thought I was a man. But at 55 years of age, I said yes to God. I humbled myself before God, gave me a brand new life. And today I'm so thankful for this brand new life. But I still love man. A male needs a man in his life. And he don't need no ordinary man. He needs a man. You understand what I'm saying? So what I can do is that, what's that big guy on television always advertising stuff for pain and stuff from basketball player.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, the big black guy, is he?
Yeah, Shaquille.
Yeah.
So what does he says? Man up.
Yeah.
Man up. So we got to man up. A lot of these young people need to man up. That's all it is. So I just want to encourage them. Learn to be humble. Learn to be humble. I always think about that guy. You got that good player that he thinks he can't be done without, thinks he's got to play in every game. Then you got that little humble guy that's sitting down and trying to get in the game.
That's right.
But I want to tell you that in my times of dealing with players, I seen that humble guy get in the game. But this other guy couldn't get back in the game.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So look at them individuals out there that are very humble, because they got some talent that they can use that can bring the other guy to the spirit of humility. If you understand what I'm saying, you have to be brought down. I like what you said a little while ago, Brother Ron. At 8:30, he wasn't there. You told the other guy, put on the jersey for a goalkeeper, right? Father comes at 8:45. Where you going? No, I like that, man. That's my type of coach. Right. I can tell you right now. Where you think you're going? You're supposed to be at a certain time. I see Earlson got a grin on his face. I don't know what he's grinning for.
George's boy.
I believe in discipline.
Yes,
I'm not
indeed.
afraid. You know, in growing up, I was never afraid to say I'm sorry. But sometimes when I'm said I'm sorry, they want to kick me around because they thought I was soft. Well, then they realized how sorry it was when they started to kick me around, when I started to kick back. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it, whatever the case is, but don't try and stomp on me, please. Don't do that. So be a man, my brother. Be a man. Stand. Stand.
Yes, sir. Well,
Yeah.
It's been
Dennis.
great. It's been great. It's
Um,
been great, man.
this has been an
Beautiful.
enjoyable one for me,
Beautiful.
and I want to thank both you, Mr. Edward Icewater Smith, and your lovely wife, as well as you, Mr. Clarence
Hello, Ms.
Simons, for
Smith.
joining us here. You guys enjoy the rest of your night.
Yeah.
We'll probably have you back again sometime soon to continue this conversation,
Yeah,
because
for real. For real.
information is the key to help us kind of get our young people back on the track, not just on the field, but off the field, and become, as you have said, Mr. Smith, become men.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for
Have a
having
good
me.
night.
All right, guys.
All right. All the best.
Have a good night.